equity. Those equity equals what's left of the assets after liabilities have been subtracted. So A has to be 40,000. Okay, at the end of the year, we've got liabilities of 120 and equity of 50. So assets has to be the sum of those. Another way of looking at the basic equation. So total assets at the end of the year have to be 170,000. We come over here to Holden. At the beginning of the year, they've got 130,000 of assets. Their equity is 70. So a couple ways you could do this. D plus 70 has to be 130, or you can take 130 minus 70, and our liabilities have to be 60. We can double check this. If we add our liabilities and equity together, we get assets, or if we take our assets minus our liabilities, we end up getting our equity. E is really the same problem as A. You were given assets and liabilities, so we just subtract, and we get 125,000. Alright, now let's go down to C, which is probably the hardest one in here. Notice this is telling us during the year retained earnings changed. Well, why does retained earnings change? It changes because of revenues, expenses, and dividends. Okay, now revenues and expenses are net income. So if you take a look here, we've got 215 and 165. So net income was 50,000. So if dividends had been zero, this number right here, instead of being 10,000, would have been 50. So something caused retained earnings only to go up by 10, despite the $50,000 of dividends. So what number subtracted from 50 would give us 10? Well, it's 40,000. Okay, so our dividends must have been $40,000. Another way to look at this increase in retained earnings tells us that net income was $10,000 greater than our dividends. So if net income was 50,000, dividends had to be 40. Now this one was missing. This wasn't asked for in the problem, but let's just run through it because this one's a little bit tougher. If retained earnings went up by 55,000, that means net income had to be $55,000 more than dividends. So if dividends were 5 and net income was 55 more than that, then net income had to be 60. So if revenues, which are not given, have to minus expenses has to be $60,000. So something minus 80 equals 60. So our revenues in this case had to be 140,000.